Welcome back to Me First with your host, Drew, the resident jokester with a heart of gold, and Amanda, optimistic space cadet who sees opportunity everywhere. We dive deep into everything from navigating love and family to crushing your business goals, all with a heaping helping of conversation and good humor. So make sure you subscribe and join the Me First fam. New episodes drop 3 weeks out of every month on the second, third, and fourth Thursday. Want to know more about a specific topic? Let us know in the comments. All right. How you doing, Drew?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing good, I think. I'm doing good. I will say that I'm rested.
Are you rested?
Went on my first official real solo trip, solo vacation, and went on a cruise to Alaska. Solo vacay is definitely in my repertoire now, and it's not going anywhere. I'm gonna have to find a way to solo vacay.
Nice.
It was super, super dope, and there were so many cool experiences that I had that, there were a couple where it was like, man, I wish, I could turn to someone and, hey, this isn't this cool or whatever, but there were strangers that I did that to. So it was kind of like, I figured out I could just turn and talk to anyone. It doesn't really matter if they talk back or if they're startled by me talking to them.
Just start
talking.
It
might be. Like, just blending in with families. Like, oh, what are we looking at, guys? But yeah, that was really good. And then came back. And I was home for 3 or 4 days, and then headed out to a conference, the Women Consulting Corporate Live Conference, which was in Atlanta. It was absolutely spectacular. Liz and her team do a phenomenal job of bringing women business owners together, to elevate their businesses and to elevate one another, which is really cool. I actually sent over a referral of someone super special to me to them. And so seeing if that's going to be a good fit for them and their business, which would be really exciting. How about you? We haven't recorded in a couple weeks.
The couple weeks that you've been away, fun and exciting. Took vacation from the 9 to 5. So that was relaxing. Got a few things done. Went out this morning, did some cycling, 17 and some.
Yeah.
Just a smooth 17 and a half. That's it. It was all good.
That's not 17 and a half feet, right?
No, that would be miles. Yeah.
Miles. Okay.
Yes, the miles.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, one of the ladies, it was her birthday today, and she didn't want to go with the group ride today, but she wanted to get a ride in, so I was down for it. I was like, let's do it. So we went out to Tempe Town Lake and got a few miles in. It was nice out there. Pretty decent weather. So
that's cool.
Yeah, it was nice.
You said pretty decent weather.
Yeah, my thing says 105. Well, until about 8:30, and then 8:30 we started to bake a little bit, but we was cruising back in, so it was all good.
Oh, what time did you guys head out?
We started at 6.
Okay, that's not too bad.
Yeah, no, it wasn't too bad at 6. So and then right on the water, it's kind of cool. So not too
that's
bad
beautiful.
At all.
Nice.
Definitely.
Yeah, well, it's funny because over the past 2 weeks, though they were very good 2 weeks, I had quite a few interesting things happen. My bike got stolen, as you know.
Yes.
So I have not been riding since I've been back, and it's funny because a million things seem to be piling on. And I think that's a great segue into our topic for this series, which is routine. Because I think, though I'm not phenomenal at routine, I'm constantly working at it. But I will say that I do believe that some of my routines that I do have in place kind of saved me from completely falling apart during the AC breaking at one house, and then the AC breaking at the other house, and then the bike getting stolen, and the being out of town. And
when you say you're not like phenomenal at like routines, and I know you, and I'm like, you're so good at it. It just seems like you just have it down to a science. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, I'm winging it. I'm like, get up, walk around in a couple circles.
Circles. You love it, circles.
Do something.
Oh, I love it.
And you're like, I got up, I drank my tea, read my book, wrote a few things down, got to work, had this meeting. I'm like, what? Man, I got up, walked in circles, sat on the couch, went to the door 3 times. I'm like, all right.
What was at the door?
I don't know. I don't know what's there, but I walked there 3 times. So yeah, I was like, yeah, Amanda really has this down, and here I am. But never mind that. Maybe I'll learn something today.
We will talk about. It's funny that you say that, because all those things that you mentioned, yes, I do those things consistently on a semi-daily basis, but I still feel like I'm not hitting my routine, and I think there's a piece behind that, and we'll get into it in a future episode, but part of routine is making sure that you have the right routine set up for yourself. And so let's kind of dive in, and I wanted to just start out by sharing a mishap, a routine mishap that I have. I've made this routine mistake actually a few times in my life, and I think I've learned my lesson now. But so there was a really good kind of run where I was meal prepping every Sunday, and I was doing really, really well with getting that meal prepping done. And one Sunday, or actually probably 2 or 3 Sundays, but on this particular Sunday that I remember, the day had a lot jam packed into it, and meal prepping, I was like, well, I only have like an hour and a half, 2 hours. I'm not going to, cause I used to be a chef. And so when I do meal prep, I'm typically making, 4 or 5 different meals, several different snacks, none of the, same things over and over. But this particular time I decided that I was just going to simplify. And so I made one lunch for the whole week, and one breakfast, and the same snacks. Don't you know, that week I ate out almost, I had my meals day one, and every other day I brought my meal to work and I ate something else, because that routine, the meal prepping routine, yes, the meal prepping, the same thing, that doesn't work for me. I cannot eat the same thing over and over and over. I will not eat it. I will do something different. So that was a time when it really didn't work out the way that I had hoped. But where I was trying to be in my routine, but it didn't quite work out. And at the end of the day, like, routines can get a little routine, right? But they can also be a secret weapon to a smoother, more awesome life, and living the life that we are looking to live. And so before we dive in, so we're going to be talking about the what is routine, what are the different types of routine, and that stuff today. But I did put up a prompt and on my social media, on my Facebook, and I shared out with my friends and close neighbors that I want to know about your routine success and challenges. What's hard about setting a consistent routine for yourself? What works really well for you? What questions do you have? And just, ask for some help with the research process. And so Lala said, keeping a routine is consistency. For me, I like to visually see it, create a weekly or monthly calendar, and then adjust if needed accordingly. Now, Lala is a successful mental health professional, and I love how she said adjust if needed accordingly, because I think with routine, one of the things that can often be a challenge is like, if we have this morning routine set out, or this evening routine, or this workday routine, and we miss something, some of us, myself included, get into this all or nothing mental distortion, right? Where I'm like, I messed up, it's over. It's all just
The
throw
whole
the day
routine
away.
is done.
This routine sucks and it doesn't work. Throw it away.
Absolutely.
And then even worse, you know, you can get into the self stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm bad or I'm
Yeah.
not capable of this or whatever it might be. And then Sarah, very successful healthcare professional. So I think routines form a structure and then you're able to identify when something is off. I think that was a really cool call out that she made, that having a routine lets you be able to see when something's not going right in your life, right? They hold you accountable and provide your mental and physical body with the ability to reflect, adapt, and change when appropriate. Both of them are highlighting that adaptability, right? That adjustability. Working out, meal planning, wake up times, order of operations, all are routines I've made a constant. They also allow you to see that because you are consistent, taking a break is okay for a day or something like that, because you're mentally strong enough to identify the need for the break, as well as the strength to start it right back up and maintain the work progress you've made.
See, I think that's where the struggle
Mm-hmm.
is. I'm like, when I take that break, I'm like, let's just keep on breaking.
This
Let's
is
just
wonderful.
this break is good.
See how you were suggesting a reclining chair in my
Yes,
office? I'm like,
indeed.
for me, I'm playing the tape through, and I am definitely seeing a new
Yeah,
TV going right here.
absolutely, absolutely.
So, so I really loved what Sarah and Lala shared, and I'm interested to hear from you. You know, what is hard about setting a consistent routine for yourself? What works really well, and what questions do you have about routine?
Well, routine. You know, I think that I don't think the setting the routine is the difficult part. I think I'm able to set the routine, but I struggle. I think when the adjustments need to come in, if
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't go exactly how I planned it out, I'm like, you know what, this is it. I'm done with it. Forget it. I just can't do it. And so I'm frustrated and then I feel
Mm-hmm.
overwhelmed and then I'm just like, then that puts me in that procrastination mode because then I'm just like, forget it all.
Yeah.
So I think that understanding that it's okay to adjust. It's okay to make adjustments where they're needed and being able to kind of step back, look at the bigger picture and say, okay, this is working. This is not
Mm-hmm.
working. How can we make a change here so that we can stick to this routine, but maybe just move some things around? So I think that's the biggest piece for me. I definitely can be hard on myself at times when things don't go according to plan. So it's easier for me not to plan so that I don't fall into that trap
Mm.
versus take the other route of figuring out how to adjust the plan. Pretty
That
much.
is a really, really insightful take, that the anticipation or the potential anticipation of the routine not working out perfectly can be a hindrance to committing to sitting in or living in a certain routine. But I think that's a really good call out. I guess not, but I think that's a really good call out, because I believe that that is something that I struggle with as well, and I think it's something that probably most people struggle with.
Right.
It's the same thing with for me, I'm on a weight loss journey, right? I'm trying to be healthier, and there are days where I'm like in my head that like this, like, and it's the craziest thing, this isn't gonna work. Like, well, yes, it will, dummy. Like
Right.
if you eat healthy
If you just do
and
it.
exercise, it will definitely work. But like in my head, I'm like, this isn't gonna work. Like just throw it. Like there's
Yeah.
or if I make a mistake, this isn't gonna work. I'm
Right.
not gonna be able to get back on track. What Sarah said about taking a break is okay, and then having that mental strength to get back on track, that's
Yeah.
always been my biggest challenge, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when I get back into a gym routine, I'm like, I gotta go every day, 7 days a week, and which isn't sustainable, but I feel like if I don't go on one day, I'm just not going to go the next day too. I'm going to find a reason not to go the next day. And I think there's some pieces that in Atomic Habits that I want to share that will really be helpful as well.
Definitely, because setting yourself up, I mean, I guess if you're setting a routine, committing, if you're starting a weight loss journey, you know, we'll use that as your example. Going out the gate 7 days is almost setting yourself up to fail because, like you said, it's not sustainable. Not straight out the gate. You know, somebody that's been doing it for years, it's just it comes naturally to them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, straight out the gate, it's like, no, on the third day, we're all set.
Well, it's 100% not sustainable. So there's a book called The Compound Effect, and it's one of my I don't want to call it one of my favorite books, but it is one of the most useful books that I've read in my life, and and something that has really helped me. Like in my career, I'm great at routine. I'm great at lists and all that. It's my personal life where you know, because I always come second or third or fourth, right? But in the Compound Effect, Darren Hardy talked about and shared several anecdotes where when he would be working with someone, like say they were trying to get their gym life under control, he would be like, okay, for this first week, all you're allowed to do is go to the gym, walk in, stay for 5 minutes, do not exercise, and leave. And you're going to do that every day for 1 week or 2 weeks or whatever the anecdote. And then the next day it's you're going to go. The next week you're going to go every day. You're going to go in, you're going to do one exercise, 2 sets of one exercise or whatever, and then you're going to leave. And that's it. And because what he was telling his clients and what he was trying to get them to do is to build the habit, the habit of going to the gym, to build the mindset of I am someone who goes to the gym every day or 5 days a week or whatever it might be. So we can think of a routine as your personal life hack, right? It's like training your brain to do things on autopilot, which then free you up to tackle the more epic stuff that it's a little bit harder to do. So this episode of Me First is brought to you by Maine Locology. At Maine Locology, we pride ourselves in making every head we touch look amazing. Located inside Salon Boutique at 3163 South McClintock Drive, Suite 12 in Tempe, Arizona. Check out our work on Facebook or Instagram at Maine Locology. That's MANELOCOLOGY. Or book online at mainelocologyllc.booksy.com. One thing that is like a lifesaver, if I've got something real big going on in a certain day and I need to get it done, I'm gonna iron my clothes the night before. I'm going to lay them out, right? I'm gonna make it so that I am much less likely to fail in that morning execution. And sometimes, depending, like when over the past couple of months, I've been really deep into my spiritual study, studying several different spiritual books, writing a lot, journaling a lot. And there was a solid month where my journal, my Bible, and my 2 other books that I'm executing on didn't leave my bed. I'm so, and I don't know if it's ADD, but that's what I call it. But I'm so ADD, like out of sight, out of mind is so real. Like something being on a shelf is even out of sight for me, right? So doing the things that you know, right? Those hacks that you know are going to work for you. And so we're not going to go too deep today, but we are going to go into the what's. I do want to talk about 4 main types of routines. So there are 4 main types of routines that most of us will encounter and try to master throughout our lives. So 1 are daily routines. We've talked a lot about daily routines. These are probably the most common to us all. 2nd are weekly routines. We see these as a continuation of the daily routine, but they're just a little bit different. these routines focus less on getting from activity to activity and more on building the life that we say we want. I actually have these printed out because I need to do them today. But so my habit trackers, right? So, and at the bottom, I want to see if, I don't know if you can read that, but it says, live the
you want. Nice.
So I'm always telling myself, trying to psych myself out almost like I said I wanted this.
Right.
So in order to get this, these are the things that I got to do. Like live the life that I said I wanted, you know? So there's those routines. And then there are routines for improved habits. So again, like habit trackers, and then routines for specific goals. So like weight loss routines, or whether it be a routine for learning how to work on your car. You know, I have a goal of learning how to do more carpentry. I know it might sound weird, but I feel like I should be able to build. I feel like I should be able to build like something, you know?
Okay.
And so there's actually something that I really want to build, and I was asking people to kind of help me figure it out, but I think I'm just going to get some help with some plans, and I want to build a solo camping setup in my truck, in my SUV. Yeah. So that's like, you know, so there's a goal there, and different routines of, you know, learning that stuff.
Nice.
So those are the four different types of routines. Now, so there's a misconception about daily routines, and I think a misconception that I hear or feel even is that they're meant to make you and your day perfect. That if you have the right set of routines, it's like you're going to never skip a beat. You're going to say your affirmations perfectly every day. There will be no hiccups, right? And I think one of the biggest perpetrators or perpetuators of those misconceptions are that what we see in those day in the life videos on TikTok and YouTube videos, and the thought distortion that these are like, yes, they're real people, but these people are not out perfectly executing their daily routine.
Right.
And there's not something wrong with me or wrong with you because you're not, right?
Exactly. They have edited that video 12 times. You know, lighting is perfect.
Yeah.
Everything is cleaned up nicely. Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're seeing these videos from influencers where it's like, this is content that they decided to create. And also, I don't know what time they recorded that video.
Exactly.
They might be opening these blinds. It's 5 p.m. Yeah, it looks like the sun's coming up because it's going down. Like, you know,
absolutely.
I mean? So we just never know. So we can't let these thought distortions mess us up, because that will happen. They'll get in our head and we'll think, you know, I've really messed up. Routines help us to build habits. So you'll hear me talk about habits as we're discussing routines, because that's what routines do. They help us to build habits. And so I want to talk about real briefly one daily conscious habit or routine, I guess, that so my body has a daily routine that I can't get through a full night of sleep without having to go pee. So I'm just going to throw that out there. You know, I am a woman of a certain age. No. So, you know, somewhere between midnight and 3 a.m., I'm waking up to go potty. And what I used to do is I would wake up and I would grab my phone off of the charger and take it with me, and or come back and look at my phone to figure out what time is it, how much sleep time do I have left, you know, all of these different things. I stopped looking at my phone. Like when I go to sleep, you'll know this because you used to go to sleep after me, and if you text me, I'm not,
it's not happening.
It's not happening, right? So I don't look at my phone because one of the routines that I was really trying to put in place was getting a full and solid night's sleep. And that blue light,
what does that feel like?
it,
How do you like it?
man,
Is it
I
great?
love it. I really
Man,
want that for you, friend.
I'm so
I really,
jealous.
really do.
I
Cause
want that for me.
I,
I'm so jealous right now.
I
Man.
love it. It's everything for me. And, so, I don't look at it anymore, and I get such a better night's sleep putting phones, computer screens, TV screens away. That blue light makes it so that your brain can't stop. I don't know all of the physiology we're going to say behind it, but it makes it so that your brain can't rest. And so turning that off has really really improved my sleep, because I used to not get good sleep. I would wake up in the middle of the night, and and the next thing you know, I'm like, oh, I'm up, okay, I'm gonna go and watch a show, or I'm gonna do this, or I'm gonna do that. And when I just made a conscious effort that if I wake up, I'm not looking at my phone. I am going to lay there in the dark until I fall back asleep. So that's been really really helpful. So for a daily routine of getting a good night's sleep, that's a habit that I had to break, that has now become a new habit of not doing it, right? So then there's the weekly and monthly routine. So that's like, your grocery shopping, eating healthy, something like a monthly budgeting routine that I'm not going to pull my budget up, but I can, on my desk here, I've got my budget calendar that I have been working on, and all of the budget, to make sure, right, things change. So you got to do that consistently. And then a routine for a specific goal. So it might be studying to become a subject matter expert on a certain topic, or learning a new language, weight loss, like we talked about. And then there's the routine for improved habits. So improving on bad habits like procrastination, which we talked about in the last series, mindless
Sure
phone
did.
scrolling, right? And these are sometimes you create a routine in order to break a different habit, right? And one of the things that James Clear talks about in Atomic Habits is designing your environment to support your routines and your habits. So for instance, if we're talking about mindless phone scrolling, or if we're talking about waking up at a certain time, I used to not be an early riser at all. I was just like, not my thing. I'm waking up like 40 minutes before I have to be at work, and I'm doing this like crazy mad dash through through my morning routine in order to get to work on time, right? Or an hour before, or whatever. But one thing that I started doing was I took my phone, and instead of plugging it in by my bed, and this was another thing that I did in order to help me to stop looking at my phone when I woke up in the middle of the night, I put my phone, at first I put it in the living room. And so I put my phone in the living room and had my alarm set. So I had to put my feet on the ground to turn off that annoying alarm every day. And that was a huge help.
Yeah.
So
Like,
yeah,
the phone's right there. I'm just like, snooze, snooze,
snooze,
snooze.
turn that
Yep, I was
off,
like, I gotta
right?
get upright, and get moving, so that way I can
Hmm.
start
Yeah,
functioning. Yep.
yeah. So that's and that's also about, we'll dive into the fact one about routines, which is the brain on autopilot. And so there was a study done at the University College of London. We'll share the link in the show notes. So this study explores a concept of routines as behavioral automaticity. So repetitive actions create neural pathways in the brain, allowing them to be automatic and be done with less effort. So what that does is it frees up your mental resources for more complex tasks, right? So neural pathways, as we know, are the links in the between the synapses in your brain. So it's I guess I'll take it. I'll take it there, right? If you have someone who is living in an abusive situation, they might experience that when they speak their mind, pain comes from that. So they will begin to speak less, right? And your brain actually like creates that correlation. It's similar to when you're training a dog, right? I'm training my dog right now, and she knows, okay, if I walk in the kitchen, she's beginning to know. I'm not going to lie and say she's trained because we're still getting there, but she's beginning to know that if I walk in the kitchen, I don't get snacks. If I stop at this door, I get snacks. So eventually the snacks won't actually have to come because it's just that automaticity that when this if then, right? So what happens though is routines can feel really boring when we first start out, but over time they do get smoother, and they also require less conscious thought, which is probably part of why you think I'm good at routines and I think I'm not good at them, because I'm like, I'm just doing the morning. But there are new things that I'm trying to get into my morning that I'm not doing so well at. And so for me, I'm like, oh, I suck at routines. And it's like,
Right.
well, no, now I'm building new habits into my routine. So that's something that is missing.
But you have a solid routine. Solid.
You're listening to the Me First podcast, brought to you by 360 Home Services. At 360, our mission is to transform spaces and redefine comfort. Check us out at 360cleanit.com. That's 360cleanit.com. You can book right online and get your space transformed. Start redefining your comfort.
We talked actually the other day when I was asking you about the Motion app, because for me, remember, I was explaining I have to absolutely do better at creating routines for myself. And one of the things, as I was sitting down figuring out what kind of calendar I wanted to use or what method I was going to try to use to organize things for myself, I was like, I have so much that I need to get done. I can't get it done. And then I was like, I'm done with this. Even though that doesn't fix anything, it doesn't solve, because it still needs to get done. But I was just like, there's just so much. I'm like, you fill out the calendar. I'm like, all right, that day's full. This one's full. But again, it leads into, is this the life that you say you want? Sometimes it's just going to be busy, but, making an adjustment, trying to figure out where maybe you can take some downtime. But I'm like, man, what works for me? I tried the paper planner and I was like, that's not going to work, but I got to figure it out. So I'm going to try that option. I like hearing about this book. I don't feel like you've shared that book with me, that I should read it.
Compound Effect or Atomic Habits?
Atomic Habits.
Oh, I love Atomic Habits.
That hurts me.
I have to have talked about this book with you.
You have talked about it. You weren't like, friend, you totally should read this because you're jacked up. You haven't said that to me. You haven't. And I don't understand why that hasn't happened yet.
I guess I could see what you mean there, because you've shared, like, I'm struggling with routines and habits, and I'm like, man, that's tough.
Sorry to hear that.
I have no resources that could potentially help. Yep.
Yeah.
Good call. Good call. All right.
Moving right along.
Yeah, I will definitely, and I'm going to share some of it today. So
sounds good. Sounds good.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So, it's about. Are you familiar with flow state? Okay, so I need to make a note to talk about flow state in the. So we can't get into it today, but so think of flow state as like being in the zone, and it's like those familiar activities that, so when I was a line cook and I was new at cooking on the line, and being trained by these OGs in the kitchen, these guys been cooking for 20, 30 years, some of them. They're, I'm cooking in the kitchens in Arizona, so it's very much machismo, very like male dominated. Not a lot of women in the kitchen. So then you got this short black girl coming into the kitchen, and also, and I could see where there'd be some frustration because I'm also on a leadership track, right? Some of these guys have been cooking for years for some of these places, and they're not being put on a leadership track. And that's, in retrospect, something I should have recognized in my younger days. But I remember asking Ubaldo, he was a good cook. He was a really great cook, not a great trainer. And I was like, Ubaldo, like, I'm struggling, how do I get faster on the grill? Like, how do I get faster on the grill? This guy's a broil cook. And he's like, Amanda, just be faster. And that was the training suggestion. That was it.
Next time I train, that's it.
Yeah, just be faster.
Just be faster. That's it.
Yep. And I mean, and like, head high, shoulders back, and went on about his day. Like, I have given the training lesson for the day.
Absolutely.
And as I continued to talk to other cooks, because that wasn't enough for me, one cook asked me what I do for hobbies. And the first thing that popped into my head at the time, I was still, pretty close out of high school, and I was like, well, I played trumpet for a lot of years in school. And he said, when you learn the music, and he was a musician, he said, when you learn the music, do you look at the music every time you play? And I was like, no, like eventually I was like, I don't know if it's memorization, but eventually it's just kind of a part of you. And that was the pause. And he sat and waited for me to get it.
He was like,
and
it's gonna click.
you got it. And what he was basically saying was, you're still thinking when you're cooking. You need to get to the place where you're not thinking. You're seeing the order come up on the screen, and it's like a dance. Boom, right. Boom, boom, right? So that's what being in the zone is like, and that's what routines do for us, because waking up, pulling out my journal, reading 10 minutes, I'm no longer really thinking about those things. It's just those are the things that happen. And there's a word for it. I'll have to find it in Atomic Habits, but it's about the trigger and then the action, right? So the trigger is, I woke up. Then what that causes is an action. So the first action is, I'm going to go tinkle. That's the trigger, the action. And then after that, I'm going to step onto the scale. It's the automatic thing that happens. After
if that's your routine every day, stop that.
What?
Don't get on the scale every day. It's the devil. Don't do that.
It's not.
No, it is.
My nutrition coach told me to get on the scale every day. Every day.
Every day? Mm-hmm. Do you know how much the scale can fluctuate? We'll talk about this later.
See, but it's not about looking for weight loss every day.
What are you looking for?
It's about weighing yourself every day and understanding that just because the scale is 1 pound different up or down, or 2 pounds different up or down day by day, that doesn't correlate to you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Then you have to realize, okay, did I do all of the things that I was supposed to do yesterday? Did I read my lessons? Did I drink my water? Did I eat within my things? Yes. So guess what? That scale doesn't matter right now. So find a non-scale victory.
More to the story.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not
I jumped the gun.
Yeah, it's not just about getting on the scale, because it can bash you up, right?
Yeah,
it can really mess people up. And I've seen it mess people up where, I've had my wife used to be like, I gained 4 pounds yesterday. I'm like, you didn't. Like there's no way. Like it's not, you didn't. And I'm not even going to doctor now you right now. You did not gain 4 pounds yesterday, right? So
Doctor now.
yeah, my homie.
Could have lost 30 pounds.
So that getting in the zone, that flow state is one piece. And then there's the next piece, which comes from Atomic Habits as well, which is the power of habit stacking. And so habit stacking is a technique that involves linking a new habit to an existing one. So this leverages an existing routine as a cue to trigger the new behavior. That's right. So cue, trigger, action. So that might be after brushing your teeth, you floss for 2 minutes, right? The cue is you brush your teeth and that triggers you to floss. Or it might be laying out your biking outfit the night before.
The night before.
Right. So you waking up is the cue. Your outfit is right there. And so might as well put it on, because as minuscule as it seems, that moment of I got to get it out of the drawer. Next thing you know, I'm walking in circles, right? Walking in circles in the living room.
Going to the door 3 times. Yeah, it's like, it's a thing.
And that's just how it goes, right? So, so those routines, you make routines that piggyback off of the last thing and on to the next thing. And so that is made evident through the research of what's called the habit loop. So in Atomic Habits, the habit loop is described as the cue, the craving, the response, and the reward. And when it's first lined out, it talks about how we form bad habits, right? So the cue might be you're having, stress at work. The craving to smoke a cigarette comes in. And then you smoke the cigarette and and that's the response. And then the reward is, I guess you feel less stressed. Now, when I think about smoking now, because I used to smoke for a lot of years, when I think about smoking now, all I think about is feeling sick after smoking a cigarette and feeling sick. And that, being able to hone in on that feeling as opposed to the relaxed feeling, allowed me to turn that response into a negative craving for not smoking. So, as we close, I'm going to share the 2-step process to changing your identity. So, routines are how we build habits, and our habits are what reinforce our identity. Okay? So, your identity emerges out of your habits. You are not born with preset beliefs. Every belief, including those about yourself, is learned and conditioned through experience. More precisely, your habits are how you embody your identity. When you make your bed each day, you embody the identity of an organized person. When you write each day, you embody the identity of a creative person. When you train each day, you embody the identity of an athletic person. The more you repeat a behavior, the more you reinforce the identity associated with that behavior. In fact, the word identity was originally derived from the Latin word essentitas, which means being. So essentitas, which means being, and identidem, which means repeatedly. Your identity is literally your repeated beingness. So when we have a routine that we are trying to engage, every time we don't engage that activity, we reinforce the identity of ourself that we are not a person who does that. right? So every time I don't go to the gym, every time I choose to not go for the walk or to the gym or to my home gym in the back and to do, I am reinforcing that I do not work out. Every time that I don't read my 10 minutes, I am reinforcing that I am not a reader, right? And so the opposite then is true. Every time that we do the thing that we said was who we wanted to be, we reinforce that we are already that person, right? So instead of saying, I want to be a writer, it's like, write consistently, and you are a writer. You might not be a published author, but you are a writer, right? So what are your thoughts on this episode before we close out?
This is a good one. I needed this in my life.
I love it.
I
Love it.
needed it. So interested in getting the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and reading that, seeing can that help me out. You know, you and I had the conversation about the calendars and things like that. So I'm definitely working on developing my own routine. I have somewhat of a routine. I do get up and cycle the majority of the days.
Yeah.
So I have somewhat of a routine, but I definitely think I can redefine and readjust a little bit to get it a little bit more streamlined. So I'm excited to get to the next episode and figure out some tools.
So have you started to identify yourself as a cyclist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
awesome. So everyone, we want to hear from you. Share your weirdest, your wackiest, your most wonderful routines using the social media. So tag either myself and or Drew in it. Share your routines with us. Comment below. Share your routines. The weirder, the better. In the next episode, we're going to dive deeper into routines, and we're going to talk about the why of a routine. So why it's important, and also why things work, why they don't work, and that'll lead us into the how, where we'll have a very special guest on that how episode, which I'm super excited about. And this episode might save your sanity. This series, I should say, might save your sanity. So tune in. Make sure to like and follow me first, and remember to put yourself first.